everyone. Happy anniversary, Binance. Thank you very much for joining us here. So I'm Kristina Lucrezia Corner, managing editor at CoinTelegraph, and I'm very happy to introduce my wonderful co-panelists with whom we will be talking about cashless society, moving towards digital payments with crypto. So first, I would like to introduce Sean Rolland, Director of Product at BitPay. Hi, Sean.
Hi, Kristina. How are you today?
Oh, great. Thank you. How are you?
Doing good. It's a good morning here in Atlanta, Georgia, in the States. So thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk.
Great. Thank you. So the next panelist I would like to introduce is Tyler Spalding, co-founder and CEO at Flexa. Hi, Tyler.
Hey everyone, how you doing? Great to be here. Happy third birthday, Binance.
Where are you based, Tyler?
We're based in New York.
Nice.
So it's been a trying time, needless to say.
Perfect. Oh, the Atlantic guys. Okay. And my wonderful third co-panelist is John Kenneth, COO at Swipe Wallet. Hi, John. John? I lost you in my Zoom. Well, okay, let's first talk a little bit about this incredible recent months, guys. I think that you would agree with me that that was something incredible, unexpected, and totally out of normal. So my question to you is actually how this lockdown, COVID crisis period did impact the digital payment sector. Which opportunities did it give, and also which challenges did it produce for the sector? I don't know. Let's start with Sean, maybe.
Sure, appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, starting in late February, March, at least here in the United States, a lot of things changed. No more going into restaurants, no more bars, no more interaction of even swiping your credit card or handing your credit card to someone. That behavior really started changing a lot. And so digital payments, people start getting exposed to this stuff when they go to a store or when they want to buy food and the restaurant says, hey, I can't take that cash, or I'm sorry, we're not going to take that cash, or, hey, do you have Apple Pay maybe, is another kind of pseudo form of digital payment. So I think that, and I'll use the opportunity, the word opportunity lightly here. It's opportunity in a crisis, but it is an opportunity for people to understand and get more exposure to digital payments. That it's still, you look at some of the statistics globally around credit card and e-commerce shopping and in-store payments, people to person is still an insane amount of the global payments. So people still are using cash. They're still using card. And so people start getting used to these digital payments when they can't use the others. So that's probably the big, the opportunity here is just getting the global population more exposed to digital payments and interacting with those.
Tyler, what about you? Which interesting changes and developments did you notice during the last months?
Yeah, I mean, Sean definitely covered it really well. This is going to be, I think it's going to accelerate now digital payments and the technology behind it to just a massive degree. I'd say it's really around two key pieces. The first one is just around cost. A lot of payments can be expensive if you're especially using various payment cards, various hardware terminals, software, all of that. And so, that had existed, but I think it's a greater focus now. When you have some of these retailers really, crunch on looking at their bottom lines and their operational efficiency where, times are tight, they're now even more focusing on payment expense, which in many industries, it can be the second highest operational expense that retailers have. So it's a very large one. And then beyond that, so that's just more of the pure economic reasons. Then also kind of, as Sean mentioned too, on the digital aspect is now you have this more of demand for contactless payments and digital payments, whether it's cash Or even like throughout Europe, they have a much more secure payment card system, but you're still having to type your PIN into now all of these hardware interfaces. And so I can see something like that having a little more resistance or reluctance to using those products now as we think about this, kind of that post-pandemic era.
That's incredible, right? In the sense that we actually didn't expect that this event would come, and it actually helped us a bit to digitalize the community, everything that we were so much longing before, and it happened because of some crisis. And that does mean that actually nothing is only bad. There are always some opportunities that are given by any crisis. And my next question to John actually would be, do we really need to force out cash out of our lives? Like, we already understood that it can be contagious during the pandemic, but do we really need to divide it so much between cash and digital payments? And if yes, maybe cash still has a potential to be a tool, a means of payment that is different from the digital payments. Sell me digital payments, John.
Sorry. Hello?
Hi, John. We hear you. How are you doing? Where are you now?
I'm here in the Philippines
Oh, wonderful.
right now. Yeah.
So what about digital payments in Philippines? If you compare them to the cash payments during the recent months?
Yeah. From March, starting March this year, our community was under quarantine. So, yeah, basically the growth of the digital payment around here in the Philippines really grew. Even the people without bank accounts, they started using simple apps that are used in small transactions when buying food and stuff.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's so interesting that a problem that united us all actually create a global situation. Yes, a global opportunity for digital payments. Okay, guys, but still, we are united in this situation and lockdown and COVID-19 crisis. But my question is, how do you approach different communities still? I imagine that you acknowledge that from region to region, there are different approaches to money, to payments. There are unbanked societies. So I don't know, Tyler, maybe you could elaborate a little bit on how your platform and you in particular develop your product in different countries.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, that's like one of my favorite questions almost, because it really gets at this core question of like why crypto matters, right? We're talking on this panel right now of like digital payments and crypto payments. Like a little bit is like, who cares? Why is this going to be meaningful? We have cash, we have payment cards, we have all these other instruments, but the reality is like we do have these assets and various communities will have their assets. So it could be even as like more widespread. Let's say you're in Europe and you have a euro note, and maybe you go to Mexico and now you have this value, it's in your pocket, you can exchange this cash, but there isn't going to be any merchant or any business in Mexico that accepts that as native tender to them because they don't want euros, they want pesos. And so now you're stuck at this crossroads where it's like, how is this the problem where you have value, and there's literally no way to create any sort of exchange between those people and actually perform commerce. And so you need some sort of a digital medium for that. And so even if the assets are digital, if you have a digital euro, a digital peso, and you each have a mobile device, well, now there can be some medium of exchange between that, like Binance or something else, that's all that really needs to take place. And now you can actually transact between any community in the world with whatever asset that you have that you find valuable to anyone else or a business or a person that wants a different asset that they find valuable. So at Flexa, that's really what we built, is just a platform that allows us to connect to, merchants big and small with whatever hardware and software they already had. And then any digital asset can go in. So we try to be extremely agnostic to that effect of any wallet, any app, any asset, you can now pay at all of these merchants, real time, no fees, instant confirmation, that sort of thing. and the merchant is going to get what they're looking for. So they're going to get paid cash of whatever that is in a bank transfer because that's what they want. That's how they pay their bills. But then consumers all around the world can pay with whatever token, whatever asset, whatever community, whatever app they want to use, right? Like the more you try to force people and try to own everything in these app ecosystems, it's not the way that people are. They find value in something, as we obviously can see in the crypto communities with thousands and thousands of tokens and everything else. Like people ascribe value to that. And so now enabling that and unlocking it to be usable anywhere is extremely powerful. And then without foreign exchange fees, that's really cool to now be able to take that, spend it in other countries, spend it wherever, and not have all these ridiculous fees and timing, and not even that, just fraud. So it's really exciting what this is going to look like.
Yeah, very interesting. Sean, I would like to ask you, do you think that the crypto payments deployment potential is correlating with the tech proficiency of the country, or are these things different? You also, I think it was you who mentioned banks. Like, do you think that we have more potential to use crypto in the societies that are banked, or there is no this correlation?
They're all good questions. So specifically around crypto payments, because when you think of a payment, vast majority of all those are from a person to a business, right? And this kind of talks about to your last question also about how we go in different regions and look at that, and maybe it's tech proficiency, how do the banks play a role? In the end, like financial institutions and banks still are going to continue for a long time, play a large role in payments. Kind of as Tyler was mentioning, a lot of the businesses and merchants, they still want to receive fiat currency because that's just what they're used to. That's what they hold their unit of account in. They have a bank account. That's how they pay people in. So maybe a population might be a little bit more tech proficient or less tech proficient, but in the end, it's the businesses that have to feel comfortable interacting either with these assets on the front end as a user pays them, or on the back end involving a financial institution. So, when you look at the different banks, that's kind of one of our first things when we look at different regions and whatnot, is how are these banks see crypto and digital payments in general? Because it's not just cryptocurrency. Maybe it's, it's mobile minutes, in some of the African regions. How do banks interact with those? Because when banks can interact with those, it's an easier bridge for merchants to be able to go and interact with those, because they need to be able to build credit, access other financial services that right now traditional financial institutions and banks offer. So that's one of the biggest things that we look at regionally, is how are the financial institutions and banks looking at it. And if they're favorable, then we think that region is going to be a favorable place for crypto as just a bridge. There are ways to bypass that, of course, but network effect is a huge part of this entire ecosystem. And right now, banks still have that network effect where everyone is using them. But it will gradually change, and banks will eventually play a different role and will start interacting directly with these digital assets. It's just a matter of time and education, honestly.
I like your optimism. And I like this idea that we should always look into our products through the eyes of others in order to understand how better to be useful to them. John, my next question is to you. Do you think that Bitcoin has been sufficiently acknowledged as a means of payment? There is already a whole lot of discussion behind that. So I give the torch to you. And definitely, what about other cryptos?
Personally, here in our company, Swife, we have created and enabled tools for end users to use Bitcoin efficiently as a means of payment. But it's more of a store of value. But I believe it is more important to bridge gaps instead. I mean, we need to bridge the existing system of payment and introduce crypto so that people can accept it more wholeheartedly, or they won't get shocked if we immediately introduce a new system of payment. So I think for now, it's a first step.
Okay, guys, what are the next steps and what are other challenges that are laying now on the way of a broader adoption for crypto as means of payments? Tyler?
Oh man, I think that's a great question. Right after the one around spending Bitcoin, it's actually perfect. It's finding crypto assets that people want to spend. I think is going to be one of the most absolutely critical components of like having this realize the potential that it can have. So maybe Bitcoin becomes that. Originally a lot of people were using it as payments. I use it for payments personally, but there's a predominant narrative right now in the store value narrative, which can be a great narrative. And I understand all the components around all of that, and I understand the viewpoints on that. So, assuming that is true, you also have an asset that's, it will go up in price. So it's not really necessarily the best thing to be spendable when you think it's going to be worth a lot more in the future. So that then means, we led into all these other, early Bitcoin forks in 2011 and 2012, and then you start getting to other sorts of chains, and then you had ICO booms and all the other cycles around just crypto. A lot of them are, speculative assets, and people are buying them or using them with the intent of having more money or gaining more money. But now I think there can be, and we have seen a lot of other projects, stable coins being an easy example, that have utility purely in spending. And people are literally looking to now use these as a medium of exchange. And as that starts to happen, I think when people can look at a banking app and it just has a dollar balance or a euro balance or whatever it is, crypto can all be behind the scenes and people don't really even need to know. I think a really, clean example of that is something like Dharma, where it just has a balance, right? And I'd say a lot of people using that app don't have any idea what DAI is, how it's used. They certainly don't understand CDPs and all these other pieces, right? But it's just an easy utility for them. And so I think that's just the tip of the iceberg. And I think it's going to start advancing very, very quickly. And for me, it's also inevitable. It's not inevitable because it's necessarily people really want this. It's inevitable because of the cost efficiencies, the zero fraud, being able to transmit this all over the world, not having to deal with all the intense regulatory complexity, all the huge settlement requirements globally that all these card networks built. They don't have all those components. So it actually ends up being, it could be faster, cheaper, and more valuable to all the participants. So I think it's going to be completely inevitable that this starts to form the backbone of payments technology globally. And to start pushing it there a little bit more on the consumer demand is people just need to have stuff that they literally want to spend, is the short answer to me, in moving there. And without naming specific projects, there are an awful lot of them coming out right now that are branded as this is a currency. This is a it's a stable coin. It's supposed to have this value, whatever it ends up being pegged to. And I see a lot more of those, to where even 2 years ago, there was maybe 1 or 2, and now there's like 20. So it's only getting bigger, and I think a lot of people are finding value in that.
Before we hear Sean's opinion on that, I would like to just add a small element, a rumor, journalistic one. So if PayPal starts accepting crypto, what will happen for you as providers of platforms for digital payments, as well as for the community, for crypto community? Sean, but still the previous question remains, of course.
Sure. Hey, rising tides lift all boats. PayPal is huge, but it is dwarfed by the size of the global payments industry. So if PayPal starts accepting it, like we see it as such a positive thing. Again, PayPal, in different parts of the world is such a ubiquitous payment platform. So when users start seeing, oh, I can pay with this Bitcoin or with this Ether or with this US dollar coin, or, or even a digital yen or yuan. I mean, when they get that exposure to it and they see what it is, they say, what is this? I should go look this up. Oh, these are the benefits that I can have, maybe from holding my own tokens and my own privacy key, or maybe going and using a different solution that provides me access to different financial tools that I can make. Suddenly I can make 3%, when I'm just holding my tokens, and I can immediately spend it. That's one of the nice things about crypto and digital payments, is being able to access these different tools you know, in a much easier way on a global scale. Now, Bitcoin, it still has the brand name. I mean, BitPay does about over $1 billion US dollars in payments per year. 90% of that is still Bitcoin. When you hear the media talk about it, it's Bitcoin. Maybe a little bit Facebook's token that they've talked about. But Bitcoin is still going to be the number one brand name, I think, for a long time. And I think holds a lot of those original crypto ideals, and is just a good way, maybe bridge from digital assets into crypto, or crypto back into digital assets. And again, and this I think plays into some other questions about trust and whatnot, is when brands like PayPal, you know, and other large brands that are like, hey, we're comfortable with this. We actually understand it, and we bring it to our user base in a large, very user-friendly way. They have great teams that do that. It's just great for the entire, honestly, like global ecosystem of digital payments and digital assets.
Very interesting. Thank you, Sean. Okay, we have some 2 last minutes, and I would like to invite you to respond very shortly on a question how we could develop more trust in the industry from the side of individuals as well as institutions. I think it was Don Tapscott that was talking about trust. That is very important. And the next panel will be about education. You mentioned already that education is important. Other components of trust in crypto. John, let's start with you.
I think we need to continuously create frameworks and platforms that are safe and compliant in order to bring higher level of trust for all users. For individuals, we need to consistently educate and inform them of the benefits of crypto while making it accessible at the same time. Also, the average person today sometimes associates crypto as a bad actor tool. And part of this is media's fault, I think. Yeah. But we need to ensure and bring the education and knowledge to individuals to show them that that is not the case. Yeah. Like.
Great ideas. Thank you, John. Tyler, your thought on this?
For me, I love the idea and the prevalence, the emergence, the evolution, all of the above of token networks. So what that means is you've seen all these other ICOs, these other sort of ERC20 tokens, and all these other bolt-on kind of business models or tokens that are more supplemental to the core of the business itself. And that can be interesting. But now over the past couple of years, you're really seeing these entire ecosystem, an entire network where all of the value is accrued in the token itself and is critical to how the network actually operates. And when that starts to become more of the norm, and people are either using and or speculating or becoming a part of those networks, they literally are sharing in every single opportunity, the upside, governance, every little component of the value of that network. And when they're a part of that and realize every single person has the exact same selfish motivation, you get all the game theory and all these other things, but now it's not really oh, I'm holding the bag of something, or I'm not participating equally in all of this. If I use this token, but yet there's equity in this entity and I'm completely missing out, you feel like it's like there isn't that trust there of like, why am I participating or investing and trying to make this thing better? And when you look at now token networks that have done that, I think by design, to where all the value is there. So all the participants are the ones earning, they're the ones providing the value, they're the ones taking all of the action. And then all of the people have the exact same overlap, exact same interests, I think. And that's something, not talk too much about Flexa, but that's what we've done. And so all of our token has that value. So anything that I do as, a participant in Flexa is exactly the same as every other participant. And so that's something that we can really share. And I think that will really expand trust in these networks. And it's, again, more and more examples of that. It just gets really exciting now as people become more familiar and understand how some of these network works and, tokens themselves.
Cool. Thank you very much. Sean, in one word, what is the way that we can increase trust in crypto?
More businesses accept it. When businesses say it's cool, then all the consumers say it's cool.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, my co-panelists. Thank you very much, Binance. Thank you, our great public. And happy anniversary.